Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is January 23rd, 2021, and this is episode 184. This is take two. I almost got to the end, and Miriam walked in the last 5 seconds of it, so I have to redo it. Hopefully this will be a better review overall, though. So, we're going to take a look today at Robin Hood. The arc is called Iron Maiden, and this is part 1 of 2. So it's just a 2-issue arc. It is Zenoscope, and it came in at a $5.99 price tag. Now, you do get 30 pages, but usually when you get to 30 pages, they just bump it up $1. This time it's $2, so it's pretty much, even Steven as far as that goes. No bonus on this one. It's hard for me to recommend this one. It is kind of interesting, but I found there was a lot of standing around, a lot of static shots, nothing really going on. Also, it uses a narrative of a story about Jeffrey Epstein, where they switched the character names a little, but it's basically the same thing, and also involves an ancient artifact is brought into it, which is the Iron Maiden, if you care to know. I'm not sure if they've got their times of when that actually was created correctly, but we'll go into that a little bit. Let's take a look at the cover real quick. Nice shot of Robin here, and what they've done, even though the color scheme is the same throughout, they've really muted the colors in the back or just made it more diffused. Well, she really stands out. And some of the other covers that we've seen, like Injustice, she kind of blended in with the background, so it was hard to see what's going out. But this is very distinct, very nice, and she looks very beautiful. Okay, I think that's about all I wanted to mention. Let's take a look at some of the facts of this book. As we mentioned, this is part 1 of 2. Here's some of the variant covers that were available. They give you a little blurb about who Robin Hood is. And let's take a look who wrote it. The writer is Joe Bruscia. The artwork was done by Renato Ray. The colorist was Grossetia. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And we have an editor of Kelly, it looks like Shipley. It's hard, this font is a little different than the rest of it. And we start off the story in ancient times in Carthage at 723 BC. Now what we see here, it looks like a Roman villa, but Carthage is, I believe, is in Africa, or was in Africa. So I'm not sure if it really looked like that back then. Now we have the mistress of the house is peering over the railing, watching a gladiator fight down below. The master of the house is away on business. So the mistress takes this opportunity of not only watching this HBO special, of grabbing a slave that has been having relations with the master of the house. And it's not really the slave's fault because she has to do whatever the master says, but she's jealous of the slave, and she has her, basically, is going to punish her, and it's put to death by throwing her in the Iron Maiden here. Now, I thought the Iron Maiden wasn't really around until Middle Ages, so I'm a little unsure of that, but I didn't do any research on it, but I thought it was many, many years later, more than a millennium later. And so we look at the spikes on this, and they're dripping with blood, so apparently she must have just used it because there's still fresh blood in there. It's kind of funny. So the slave, while she's being put in here, she lets loose a curse, basically saying anybody that uses this will have horrible things happen to it, and they close it on her anyways. We see the eyes light up, and it's got this horrible, scary face on the Iron Maiden here. So we go to modern times, present day, and we've got this Caribbean island, and it's got an airstrip on it and a villa, and there's the villa there, modern villa, and there's our guy. Nope, that's not Jeffrey Epstein. That is Jerry Wepstein from coming in on his private jet. And he's also got some guests with him, as you can see here. Somebody from the Middle Eastern part of the Mediterranean, and then also 3 young lasses that have not come to the age of what we would consider womanhood yet. They are in their mid-teens. And so these guys, these leery guys, are looking on while the unsuspected teens think they've struck gold at this beautiful paradise of an island. And you can see Mr. Jerry there is really getting creepy looking. So later that night on the island, one of them escapes from one of the penthouse suites there, and she's chased by the guy that was from the Middle Eastern part of the Mediterranean, along with some guy in camo, and then some guy in a business suit and a guy in camo chasing the jungle after her. She keeps going because she does not want to go back, and she gets faced with the choice of going back with these two gentlemen or jumping off the cliff. She picks the cliff. Okay, now we're going to get a lot of standing around for quite a while. So they go back to the house on the island there, and they're disappointed they lost one of them, but they still have two left. So they're going to entertain themselves with this last two. Then 3 days later, back in New York, there's the man of the girl that has disappeared, who has jumped off the cliff, is asking some police for some help, and they said they'd help her, but this happened. What happened to her was not in New York. Robin Hood overhears the conversation. This is the first time we see Robin Hood here, and decides she's going to help this guy. She is actually considered an outlaw vigilante in New York at this time, so she has to kind of hide. She goes in and talks to the man. He tells her about his missing daughter, and she decides to help her, and the man is kind of relieved. So she sets off. Oh, not yet, quite yet. In the meantime, there's this limousine speeding through New York, and it goes to what I assume is either a high school or middle school, but probably high school, I guess. And there's a couple young ladies that are being accosted by some young men, and they kind of blow them off because that's the way things go in high school. And so this woman from the limousine approaches them, and she's got a name quite a bit like what you'd recognize from the Jerry Epstein situation. Her name is Giselle Maxis. So she is talking to these girls, trying to recruit them to come to this club, and then to eventually meet with Jerry Wepstein, and they're going to pay them a lot of money. So the one of them's really kind of a little leery. The other one kind of wants to do it. So they end up going to the club later that night, and there's all these very, very young girls there, and Robin Hood sneaks in as well. She has put a contact lens in, so she doesn't have the gold eye that we were used to. She still bears the scar across the eye, though, as you can see. And she mingles among the patrons, and you can see there's some guys here that are kind of gruff looking. They're kind of keeping an eye on the girls as well. And the girls are just kind of dancing by themselves. So she finds out from some of the friends, yeah, this girl was here, and then she went off to the island or whatever with Jerry. And so back in the Tribeca headquarters, this is the next day, I believe, there's a special shipment delivered, and you can see that Jerry Wepstein has like these artifacts from Egypt, and also all these kind of torture devices, and he gets this new acquisition here. The man bringing the acquisition tells him, hey, by the way, this is supposedly has a curse on it, and he goes, ha ha ha, well, don't worry, I'm not going to use it, it's just for display. And then we get a good look at the Iron Maiden opened up, ready to go here. And later in North Manhattan, Val, one of the young girls, is picked up by Giselle and taken to Jerry Wepstein's house for a little bit of work. Jerry apparently wants a massage, and so Robyn is following Val, and decides to go up top so she can watch her through the window, see what's going on, and just make sure everything's okay. They've asked her to put on this uniform, which he does. It's like a schoolgirl's uniform. And Jerry's already in the bed or on the massage table waiting for her. And at some point, he makes a move for her, grabs her leg. She freaks out and starts fighting him off, giving him a knee to the nutsack. And some furniture goes flying and items get thrown about. Val is able to get out of the room and make a break for it. Jerry puts a lockdown on the building and goes running after her, as is, wearing this Zulu mask for some reason. We got a nice shot there of the fig leaf in front of the junk, so we can't really see anything that's that bad, because this is a bad situation here. He basically wants to do something really bad to an underage girl. He finally grabs her, and before Robyn can get inside, he thrusts her into the Iron Maiden and closes the doors on her. And Robyn's like, "What have you done?" And he's like, ha ha ha. But then suddenly something happens in the Iron Maiden and it starts to transform. And we get the Iron Maiden come to life for revenge. And she's set on destroying everybody. Robin Hood takes an arrow out. She wants to stop Jerry from running off, but Iron Maiden attacks him. So Jerry can see him back here, and it's the last time we see Jerry, so I'm assuming he runs out of the room or makes a getaway. So Robin has to contend with the new Iron Maiden here, and these are one of the few action shots actually in the whole book. We have last maybe 4 pages. There's a little bit of action, 4, 5, 6 pages. Not a lot for a 30-pager. That's not a whole lot to go on. So I'm not even sure Robin actually lets loose an arrow in this 30-pager at all. So that was a little disappointing. And then we have the Iron Maiden squaring up to take Robin out for good, and it's a to be continued. Here's the cover for the next one, and we will stick with this one. It's kind of a half recommend. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen what happened to the people in Carthage originally. Like those people meant anything if besides just set up the curse. But we never find out what happens to them. And not a lot of action, not a lot of fun. It's just kind of almost a retelling of the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Okay, we'll get an ad for Val Helsing, the 50th. Can't be the 50th year, so it must be some other kind of 50th, I don't know, issue, maybe. And we get a list of Robin Hood trades. The trade Justice is not on here. And then we get this classic Robin Hood cover here as well from Days Gone Past. And that's it. So it's kind of a half recommend. The art in it was good. Just not a lot of action. You'll see a lot of standing around for a number of pages where nothing happens at all. So I wasn't used to that because the Robin Hoods I've read in the past have been very action-packed. So anyway, I appreciate you stopping by and listening to this review. As always, please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you if you have. I think we got like 72,000 subscribers. 72 subscribers now. And please like, please leave comments. And we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tones. This is Indie Comics Jones bidding you adieu.